What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's September 26th, 2023. I'm Trey. That's Mark. How you doing there, Mark?
Great, man. A lot of stuff going on. Impeachment starts later this week. So look out, Joe. Ted Cruz went on Fox News and said that he's predicting that the Democrats will replace Joe Biden at the convention with Michelle Obama. So
Hmm.
that's definitely the ticket to win an election in American history. What you want to do is nominate a black woman. Um, did you see what went on Canadian Parliament this week or late last week, Trey?
Okay. Actually, I'm glad you brought this up because I was doing a Patreon thing where I like look at the news and try to make sense of it in like
Uh-huh.
real time. And I saw this. I think I saw what you're talking about, and I was like, "What?" And was trying to put it together. So they they had like a Nazi guy come to the Senate, their version of the Senate, and like gave him a
Yeah.
standing ovation or something.
So
Like,
you know how Zelensky was here last week, and it did like this, House Republicans refused to meet with him. He didn't get all the stuff he was asking for. And you're like, oh well, this can't get worse for this trip to the North America can get worse. So he goes to Canada. They have a joint session. They have a session in Parliament where they apparently Canada has a big Ukrainian population. A bunch of people fled to Canada during and after World War II, and they have a guy there. They're like, here's a guy, a Ukrainian Canadian who fought the Soviet Union to defend his homeland in World War II. And everybody's like, wait a minute, who was fighting in Ukraine in World War II? And it turns
yeah,
out
right,
he was a Nazi soldier, but
right.
not just like a guy got drafted and was wanted to kill some communists. He was in the Waffen SS.
Yeah, that's rough. What is this? They
So
wheeled this guy. He's got to be
he was not
102 or something, right?
he was 98. So basically, they all got
Yeah,
embarrassed. The speaker resigned his post as speaker. Trudeau was like trying to pretend it didn't happen, and this 98-year-old guy got canceled. And
dude.
Poland's trying to extradite him to try him for war crimes.
Ooh, that's a bad week right there. Talk about a roller coaster. Like, hey, I'm in Parliament getting
Look,
cheered on, but I don't know. I want to be like, well, they didn't know or whatever. But like you said, as soon as you were like, yeah, he defended his homeland from the Soviets in World War II, and it's like, I know what side the Soviets were on in World War II. Like, doesn't that mean he was on the other side? Like, I do feel like they probably should have seen that coming, like, or at least
I'm just a
looked into it a
dumbass.
little bit. Yeah, like,
I'm a dumbass who graduated college with a 2.8, and I don't work in politics full time at all. And I would have been like, maybe I should Google this guy.
right. Yeah.
And they always give a huge standing ovation for yeah, it's like, oh Jesus Christ. Also with the optics of the Azov Battalion Ukraine uses Nazi iconography and stuff. It's like you'd think they'd be extra careful about that, but apparently Canada has a problem with this. They have like literal Nazi monuments in Ukrainian cemeteries in Canada, and like one got defaced in 2020, I think, and the police opened an investigation of that Nazi statue being defaced as a hate crime, and that was embarrassing. And then the
Mhm.
police chief was like, "Yeah, this is pretty silly. It's also a shame that it's still up." When the cop is like, "We should take down the statue," it's like, okay, this is a
Yeah.
bit weird. Anyway, Canada often, I just enjoy when other countries do this dipshittery too. It's just like,
Oh, me
okay, we're
too,
not the only ones.
always.
Yeah,
Yeah, it always makes me feel at least a little bit better whenever I see
yeah.
other country, but then not really in this case, I guess, but like we've talked about before, oftentimes I'll see something like that and I'm like, "All right, we're not the only ones." But then part of me would be like, "But it does seem like we're like exporting this type of thing." Again, I'm not saying that in this case, but like with a lot of they do
Mhm.
some, MAGA-esque douchebaggery in some other Western country. I'm like glad it's not America, but then I'm also like, I know where they got this idea from, though.
The I mean, this guy obviously fled the Soviet Union, in the late '40s. So, like, this is a homegrown Canadian problem. We didn't have anything to
Yeah,
do with them building that statue in that cemetery. So,
right.
I'm gonna let Canada own this one. Over here stateside, good news. The WGA got a deal with the studios. The strike isn't officially over, but they canceled picketing until this is just like until the contract language is dotted and signed. I'm relieved personally.
Mhm.
They according to New York Times, they haven't sent out the actual deal yet, but the WGA email said it was an excellent deal. They usually don't bullshit. They would have been honest and said this isn't great, but it's the best we could get. If they were, they would have said that. The New York Times said they got streaming residuals, guaranteed staffing minimums for TV shows, and AI protections, which are all three things the business daddy said we were never going to fucking get.
Yeah.
They could have given this deal 6 months ago and avoided the whole strike, but they're coming up on the end of the third quarter, and they had to tell their shareholders something, and so they relented, and which is a relief because I guess they finally realized you can't play chicken with the guy who also dies if he swerves, because that's essentially the situation the union was in.
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, there's too much to lose. Yeah. If we, like you said, we would we're fucked either way if we don't get what we want. Right. So
Right,
like caving doesn't really do anything
right.
because it's like an existential crisis in that scenario. So,
Yeah, just
there was
the
only
simple
one
math of
way
it.
out.
With continuing to shrink rooms and replacing more jobs with robots, it means you couldn't support the pension and health funds, which means the collapse of the union and the end of the being able to make a living in our business, which was not going to work. So it was a real get busy living or get busy dying situation where it's
Right.
like, okay, if this is going to be the end of everything, we're going to do it on our fucking terms, baby. So like, it's
So,
like, yeah,
you think like is SAG right around the corner then? Because the SAG one's
out,
still going on. Is this going to be like, okay,
right.
we did this, now we're on to that? Like, if we got what we want, maybe the actors get what they want too. Like,
Yeah, what the precedent said, it doesn't make sense for them to hold the line on the same stuff they just gave. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason they did the
right,
Writers Guild. That's the reason they would do the Writers Guild first, is because it's the more complicated deal with the more militant union, and so it should be easy with the other ones, unless they hold the line for AI because it can replace every background actor or whatever. But
right,
SAG's not going to surrender on that for the same reasons. It's existential. Other labor news: Biden went to Detroit today. I think it was Detroit. He went anyway. He went to walk to UAW picket alongside Sean Fain, the president of the union. It turns out Trump's pro-worker event
yeah,
a non-union factory hosted by some MAGA psycho, owned by some
yeah,
MAGA psycho. So like it's not even clear, but the Washington Post on a headline saying Trump is doing a pro-worker event. Meanwhile, Mark Levin, Trump, the MAGA, influencer, is calling Sean Swain Mussolini, compared to Mussolini. It's like,
hmm,
I don't know how you could be less clear on this. Anyway, Sean Fain went on cable news today and said a bunch of he laid it out pretty clearly to Wolf Blitzer, although I still think they're not going to get it. Also, like an underrated asshole on this the UAW strike, I didn't realize this is Joe. Well, it's Joe Manchin because he is technically Democrat. It's really the Republicans lining up with Joe Manchin. Biden administration wanted something in the Build Back, an element of the Build Back Better Act that would have offered like a $4,500 credit if someone bought a electric vehicle built by union labor. Both the UAW and General Motors supported it. And probably would have given the leverage to the union to be like, you can just make these union jobs because you sell the electric vehicle plants union because you're going to sell way more electric vehicles. And this strike might not even be happening if it wasn't for the Republicans and Joe Manchin. So this is like
right,
fucking stupid. Josh Hawley went and walked the picket today, which just pissed me off. He didn't read his tweet.
yeah,
Privileged to visit the picket line in Wentzville today. These workers deserve better pay, better benefits, and guarantee their jobs will stay in America. Then pass the PRO Act, dipshit. This bill's been in front of
right,
the last three Congresses. It's a law the way it's called the Protecting the Right to Organize Act. It would give more labor protections, make it easier to organize a union, and like weaken like right to work laws. And I want to see your vote on that, Howley. You fucking asshole. I just hate this
yeah.
posturing with like complete lack of
No,
substance.
right. No, exactly. I mean, that's the whole, we talked about it last week or the week before, or both. We talk about it all the time. Like, that's like one of the things that drives me the most crazy about them is, like you said, posturing with no substance. And that the fact that they like get away with it, like largely that he can go and do this, get the photo op or whatever. And it hits for his base and whatnot, despite the fact that everything he's done policy wise in his tenure as a senator and everything he will do is
Mhm.
in direct opposition to like regular working people, but they just, say the right bullshit lines, take the right pictures, whatever, and
They
somehow pull it off. It drives me fucking crazy.
I get they want to cover conflict, but you don't have to cover political conflict. You could cover like real world, like policy conflict, right? That's the real thing that's happening here. There is a fight here. It's in the UAW and the companies, as between pro labor, pro worker politicians, and anti labor, anti worker politicians. All Jack Howley's going to do is crush workers and then yell at them about like pronouns or something and say blue collar people don't like pronouns, like whatever.
Right.
But like, shut the fuck up, man. People have to use people don't need money to buy food and pay their rent. That's the material problem here, and it's just like I find it
Yeah.
it's a complete failure. So
Maddening. Yes,
yes,
indeed.
yes.
All right. With us as always tonight is producer Matt behind the scenes doing the things. This is Weekly Skews. I want to remind y'all before we continue a couple of things. Number one, if you would like to see me perform live, go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my upcoming tour dates. Come and see me. Thanks to any of y'all that came out to the Ohio shows I just got back from. I know some of you skewers are out there. I synced you after the shows, and I appreciate it. I'm in Lexington Friday, Washington State after that, and a bunch of other fun towns coming up in the near future. So go to TreyCrowder.com. Get your tickets now. Number two, also at TreyCrowder.com. Me and Corey Forrester's book, Round Here and Over Yonder, is available now. It is a comedic travel guide. It's lighthearted and hilarious in nature, and I do believe you will enjoy it. So check it out. Also, if you're an audiobook person, me and Corey read the audiobook, and it's very funny. As far as this show goes, if you only watch this show, but you ever listen to podcast, if you have a podcast app on your phone at all, if you would go to that app and subscribe to the show on your podcast app, we would appreciate it. It would help us out. And if you enjoy this program and would like to show your support, what you can do is you can sign up on Patreon. You go to weeklyskews.com/more or go on Patreon and look me up. Either way works. $5 a month gets you access to full-length bonus episodes. We just did one last Friday. We do them every other week. We cover things that don't come up in the main show or things that happen in between, just things we want to talk about. It's a good time. We do Q&As sometimes, get your burning questions. We think you'll enjoy it. So if you want to support the show, go to weeklyskews.com/more. Check it out. Get some more skews in your life. Now, as for the show tonight, turns out Democrats do crime too every now and then. At least New Jersey Senator Robert Menendez sure seems to have. And we're taking the firm stance here at the Skews that we don't like crime, and crime is bad, and anybody that does crime should face accountability for it. We know, novel concept.
I personally love cool crimes. This is not a cool
Well,
crime.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Some crimes are rad, I suppose.
Yeah.
But this one, no, this ain't cool. So anyway, there's some lurid and tawdry details involving gold bullion and money envelopes and fun shit like that. We'll get to it all a little later.
Halal meat, weird wives, Egyptian carve-outs. It's
Got
a
it
fun
all.
time.
It's
Yeah.
got it all. But first, we begin with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD. Anyone who doesn't think the Swifties will go full Viet Cong on your ass in a heartbeat. That's right. I don't know if y'all have seen it or not, but MAGA is going to war against Taylor Swift's fan base. And I tell you what, my money is on the Swifties. I was just on the damage report on the Young Turks Network this morning. We were talking about this Travis Kelce stuff. And I said, I was like, buddy, I'll tell you right now, I would much sooner incur the wrath of the online MAGA horde than incur the wrath of the fucking Swifties. Like you don't want that internet smoke, buddy. The Swifties will come at you hard. If y'all don't know what we're talking about, Taylor Swift is, it seems, dating Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce. She attended the Chiefs game against the Bears on Sunday, which amounted to record-breaking ratings for the Chiefs-Bears games. Travis Kelce's jersey sales are up 400%. It's all the rage right now in the football world, and conservatives are pissed off about it, not only because Taylor Swift went full woke when she took on Marsha Blackburn and is out here trying to register her fan base to vote and other such commie things as that. But Travis Kelce recently made a vaccine commercial and a Bud Light commercial. So, you got a woke storm forming here, Mark, and they're not happy about it.
This is one of the most, I guess the culture war gristmill must be, fed, but like, this is the dumbest fight to pick for all the reasons you just outlined. Like the prices of her concert tickets got hearings in Congress because people were hearing from their kids. All right. So, but like, to give you a sense of what we're talking about, Tommy Lauren made a video where she wished they both get myocarditis from the vaccine. Clay Travis posted this tweet. Let me just read it to you because it's magnificent. Clay Travis is like a conservative sports influencer, for lack of a better way to put
He's
it.
unfortunately a Tennessee guy. He started out as like a Vols reporter in Nashville. Then he made his own website and he started doing all this MAGA shit, which of course led him to exploding. So he's like you said, he's like a MAGA sports dude who I hate.
So he says Travis Kelce is doing Bud Light and COVID shot commercials. He needs to fire all his marketing agents, or he needs to just go ahead and cut his dick off, become a chick, and endorse Joe Biden. All right.
Dude.
So, Trey, is it gay to score a touchdown in an NFL game where your team wins by 31 points, then leave on the arm of a pretty lady?
Right. Super gay. Dude, yeah, they've been doing this thing where like they're trying to infer that Travis Kelce is like a beta male pussy or something. I'm like, dude, he's like 6'5", 240, runs a 4.5 40-yard dash and would like destroy any of you. You know what I mean? Like he looks like a fucking Navy SEAL and is a future Hall of Famer in the most masculine sport in America. And you're like calling him a queer because of his new girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like it's wild, dude. It's wild.
They really upended like what traditional American understandings of masculinity are. Like there's like literally nothing. I know it has nothing to do with sexuality, but there's nothing less air quote gay than like playing NFL football.
Right.
and gay in the way that they think of it, like being effeminate or whatever. But like it's just utterly bizarre. And like you're right, Taylor, like she posted one Instagram on Sunday and 35,000 people registered to vote. But after seeing this stuff, that's gonna go up like tenfold. Like in 20 years, we're going to have a social democracy where the Kansas City Chiefs are America's team, and your grandkids ask why, you're going to be like, well, it all starts with Jake Gyllenhaal and Joe Jonas being tough to date. What the fuck happened?
So I'll say this, and I feel like I've pretty much always gone to bat for Taylor Swift a little bit. I've had arguments with people over the years where I'm like, listen, dude, she writes her songs. She's fucking legit. And I'm not just like pandering to the Swifties. I have always felt that way. My wife's a big fan, but I saw a video the other day. It got clipped out and put on the internet. And I guess there was some big Taylor Swift documentary on HBO or one of those streaming things. And I didn't watch the whole documentary, but this was a scene from it. And it's her backstage with her people, her reps and stuff, talking about how she's wanting to come out publicly against and call Marsha Blackburn a bitch, right? And like and go against her in the state of Tennessee. And like her people and her dad especially are like, you please don't do that. Please don't do that. It's like it's so divided right now. You can't piss off half of your fan base. Things are going great or whatever. And Taylor's like, no, fuck that. She don't hit for me. She hates women. She's anti. Like I can't stand by and just watch this shit anymore. I have to say something. And then she went out and did, and then became like, the biggest record breaking concert touring artist in 30 plus years or whatever after that. So like, fucking go Taylor Swift, man. Like I respect that. That hits for me. I like that.
Probably some conservative teens out there who had to choose between agreeing with their parents or go up following Taylor, and they fucking chose Taylor. But like Nick Adams, like had the weird a guy we make fun of a lot, had the weirdest take. Like I heard that Taylor Swift's Eras tour is struggling to sell tickets, and that's why she's like pivoted to woke. It's like, bro, you don't know, the tickets are like $7,000 a piece for that shit to sit.
Also, that's why she pivoted to woke. I thought you go woke, you go broke. That's what I'm saying. Right. Like, go woke, go broke. Right? She went woke and broke all the records after that. So clearly, something is amiss here.
Yeah, like it's like I'm very cynical about celebrity stuff. Like if that I saw that clip you're talking about. That's her own self-produced documentary that I'm sure that's part of her manicured public interest. Like not that she wasn't taking a risk or whatever. I'm not judging that, but also like this flirtation with Kelce is tied with like a rollout of her concert tour film. Anyway, whatever. The point is she sways the public, and like Sunday's Chiefs game where they were playing the fucking Bears, who are the worst team on earth in every sport.
Yes. Well, the Denver Broncos might have something to say about that. And in fact, they play this Sunday, Mark. So tune in, everybody, to see who is in fact the worst team in the NFL. But yeah, the Bears are real bad, real bad.
The Bears game on CBS drew the highest rating of the week for any network in the
Mm-hmm.
for any gay NFL game, which means NFL is the most popular show on TV. So with any TV show, had 24.3 million viewers turn in. That was not to watch the Bears. That was
No.
because Tay Tay was waving in the box next to Travis
100%.
Kelsey's
One of the
mom.
worst games of the week. I mean, the Chiefs drilled them like 45-7 or something like that. It was never close. So yeah, it's 100% just because Taylor Swift was there. And
She was
yeah.
on. I saw some NFL podcaster make this point that she was on the NFL Red Zone. If you don't follow football, is a show that just shows like score, almost about to score plays. And that channel just shows like flips from game to game. Taylor Swift was on the NFL Red Zone more than the Jets.
Mm-hmm. I was watching Red Zone. Well, I was only because that game was in the second window, I think. And I was back in my hotel room waiting for the show to start watching Red Zone. And yeah, they were gushing over it because the NFL, they fucking love PR. They love any kind, you know what I mean? Like they're all about that shit. So they're fucking licking their chops right now. They were loving it, dude. They were cutting to her every other play. But yeah, I just think, like I said, I ain't worried about Taylor Swift or the Swifties or any of them in this big battle they've got brewing. Like I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah. Tommy Lauren's going to find a bomb in her mailbox. Probably 50 bombs in her mailbox. But yeah, if Taylor gets myocarditis, especially.
Yeah, bomb with glitter in it.
Yeah.
All right, our first honorable mention for Daily Dumbass is anyone whose biggest dream was to vehicular homicide a sperm whale. What? Donald Trump, everybody. Hit it, Matt.
You have a better chance of being struck by lightning than hitting a whale with your boat. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning than hitting a whale.
So we talked about this on Young Turks earlier. It's like, and right after this, he goes on this thing where he's like, it's not boats that are killing whales. It's windmills. Windmills are killing whales. And you're like, what the fuck? There's so many what the fuck things about that where it's like, I tried to put it together and I was like, okay, in general conservative philosophy, like boats are sweet and windmills are gay, right? And bad. So like it can't be boats that's killing whales. It's the windmills that's killing whales. But then at the same time, it's like, but whales are gay. Like aren't like save the whales. That was like the hippie admonishment for years. Like, look at this save the whales ass motherfucker. And now they care about what's killing whales because it's windmills that are doing it. Like, what?
There's this old Simpsons episode where the high school school bully Nelson was wearing a shirt that said "Nuke the whales."
Yeah.
and Lisa asked, "Why would you want to nuke the whales?" He goes, "Got to nuke something." That's essentially been America politics for like the last 50 years. And now they pivoted to loving whales just because windmills, it's like they just want whatever's worse for the environment.
Whatever's worse for the environment. That's what saying they're on.
Nihilism.
Oh, it's just like the birds we've talked before. Apparently, according to them, windmills are just on fucking bloodlust death spree against our world's wildlife out here. Because we've talked before about how they're like, these windmills are murdering all the birds. And we said, it's like, y'all don't give a fuck about birds. You take whole trips just to shoot as many birds as you can. And you're talking about windmills. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, I did watch the rest of that clip, and Trey is right. What he's talking about is windmills killing whales in the Atlantic Northeast. But like, because some whales did wash up on shore near like a wind farm, but they all somebody had to do was look at it and be like, these whales get hit by boats. They already looked into it. It wasn't but conservative media. This is back when this is back in January. Trump's remembering a news story from January when Tucker Carlson was still on the air. And he went all in on this like wind farms are killing whales shit. But like, this from a speech. I just wanted to talk about this because like Trump's going crazier and getting dumber at a rapid rate, but because no one just wants to talk about it because they want it to be an even race with Biden or some shit. But like, so this is a speech he gave in South Carolina, during which he appeared to think he remembered running against Jeb Bush in 2016 in the primary and talked shit about beating his ass, but then confused him for being George W. and being the president who led us into Iraq.
Right.
Then he mixed up Biden and Obama. It seemed to think that he beat Obama in 2016, even though he beat Hillary, who's neither Biden or Obama. Then he said he was worried that President Obama, meaning Biden, might lead us into World War II.
Yeah, I know. And yet they're like, you're really going to vote for Papa Joe Biden? He's going to be 82 or whatever. You're really going to do that? And it's like, are you seeing this motherfucker? That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's always framed as like Democrats are worried about Joe Biden's age when it comes to facing Trump. And I'm like, Trump is what, 2, 3, maybe 4 years younger than him, but he's old as fuck and also is insane and stupid. Like you said, like,
Right.
and it's clearly getting worse. And somehow he just dodges all that. I know we talked about it on a previous episode. Some people are like, well, he's got a childlike wonder to him or whatever. But like, what the fuck are we talking about, man?
I want to talk about this Biden old story that I read today that infuriated me. Not that because he's old, we all know it. Like the time to replace him, like could have voluntarily stepped down 6 months ago and named a replacement, but they don't have anybody waiting. So we're just locked into this roller coaster. It is what it is. He seems fine. I hope he doesn't die. If he does, we'll be fucked. It is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
So this after this speech, Trump went to a gun store and they showed him a Glock. I think it was a 9mm with it had his face carved in the handle, and he said, "I want to buy one." And his social media manager posted it. Then a bunch of people were like, indicted felons can't buy guns. That's against the law, so they deleted it. This is basically the same crime that Hunter Biden is going on trial for, by the way. This gun store is the same one. It's called Palmetto State Armory that sold the guns to the Jacksonville shooter, the guy that killed three black people at the Dollar General. Right. With the gun he painted a swastika on. This is the same fucking gun store. I don't know whether he chose it for that reason, but like it's still bad optics and bad if this would be a scandal if Biden did it by accident, right?
For sure.
No one's even asking if Trump did it on purpose. But so how is this race being covered with a guy who's crazy, dumb? Trump he went online this week. He retweeted retruth, whatever you call it on Truth Social, a bunch of QAnon content, and then posted a statement saying that NBC should be put out of business and the people that work there locked up. And then he said that General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs outgoing, should be executed for treason. And then this article in Axios this morning, scoop, Biden's team don't let him trip mission. This is a very long story. That's a story. Yeah, that screen grab was from the Patreon episode, Matt. This is a very long story about how the White House is having Biden wear sneakers more and having him enter Air Force One from a lower door. That's treated like the Pentagon Papers. And then the 27th paragraph is like, oh, by the way, also Trump is insane. He said that chairman of the Joint Chiefs should be executed. Right. This is the same weekend. Cassidy Hutchinson, the former White House aide, is going around promoting her book. Now, I don't know how much to believe this lady, but according to her, during January 6th, when the protesters on TV were chanting hang Mike Pence, he was chanting hang Mike Pence along with them.
And I don't know, dude. If it's just
Joe Biden wears sneakers. Joe Biden wears fucking sneakers.
Well, I don't know if it's just that thing we've talked about so much where it's like they don't have very many legitimate things to like glom onto. So this is just what they land on because they have to have some kind of drama and controversy and muckraking and all that. And when there's not that much else, but whereas with Trump, it's just a litany of things. Do you know what I mean? Uh-huh. So it's like his old dumb insanity somehow flies under the radar because they need something to make him look like, a favorite against Joe Biden. So Joe Biden's old, so that's bad. So they can't talk about how he's old or something. I don't know. It's just, it's weird and it's frustrating because I'm worried too. Like, I mean, like you mentioned, I think last week, like, I don't want to get into another RBG situation, but with the fucking White House, you know what I mean? Like Joe Biden is old. You never know. And that don't hit for me. But like, there's going to be one other option. And he's also old. And in addition to that, he's an insane dipshit. So there's your choice, Like I don't understand it.
Do you want to take the risk of Joe Biden dying or do you want to die? Those are basically your choices.
Right.
And this is like it's also like, I will tell you guys, if the impeachment uncovers some real corruption with Hunter or whatever, I'm not going to do propaganda, but there's like, Joe Biden's the old-fashioned kind of corrupt, where you solicit campaign money from credit card companies and then write financial regulations in their favor. That's right there in front of you if you
Right.
want to write that story. Like
No.
when it gets back when he was in the Senate from Delaware. That story's boring to them. Like
Right.
legal corruption legal corruption's boring to them. Anyway, let's talk about some illegal corruption. You want to?
Well, I was about to say, you said, if he does some shit, we'll tell you. Proof's in
Mhm.
the pudding right here. We
All
got
right.
a Democrat senator who's done some shit. We're
Yeah,
going to talk
so
about it.
Bob Menendez, senior senator from New Jersey, longtime scumbag, appears finally to be caught dead to rights in ways that aren't really deniable. He was indicted and tried for corruption in 2015 and got off on a hung jury. And then the DOJ declined to re-prosecute because the Supreme Court decision was handed down in the meantime that basically legalized all but super explicit corruption. Well, here's some super explicit corruption. Basically, what Menendez was doing, he started dating a new lady a few years back. Her name was Nadine. She introduced him to a friend of hers, an Egyptian American businessman named Wael Hana, who has close connections with the Egyptian military and intelligence apparatus. And they got hooked up together, and they basically gave her a no-show job with a halal meat exporting company. And in exchange, gave them a ton of cash, a Mercedes, and gold bars. All right. His house was raided
Pretty sweet deal, man.
His house was raided last fucking June. I find it incomprehensible that everyone else didn't know about this, that they just pretended it didn't happen. Maybe the rest of the Senate didn't know, but the DOJ know, and they should have given somebody a heads up that this was coming. But they got envelopes full of cash with DNA on it from the spit of a guy named Daibes. Sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. If we have any Egyptian, this is a different Egyptian guy. It has this guy Daibes return address on it, plus his spit with cash in it, stuffed into hidden in a jacket pocket in in Menendez's closet. What he was doing is basically Hana was under indictment for some other shit. He was trying to control who the DOJ appointed federal prosecutors were in this district. So to try to have leverage to get the case dismissed by protecting Daibes. So and Hana. And Menendez has been so close to getting got so many times. I assumed he was a really smooth operator. And then I read this indictment, and I'm like, of course he was an idiot. He was testing Egyptian and military officials. Do you want to bribe me today? Winky face. Right? It's just it's God damn, man. It's so it's so easy to just do straight up fucking crimes. And
that's the thing. It's he must be fucking up in some regard just by the sheer virtue of the fact that he's getting called at it. Same thing with Trump. It's all the shit it's he did that in front of all of us. Most of it's it was right out in the open, and it's that's what it takes. It's got to be egregious when you're at that level of power for you to actually get caught doing it, which means you're a dumbass.
Yeah. So he basically what he was doing for them, besides trying to defend them from prosecutions, was he said something. He's the head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and we make sure that we gave more military shit to Egypt, which is a pretty sweet deal for $480,000 in cash. Plus, you get a bunch of free American weapons or cheap American weapons.
Yeah.
The halal thing, look at this Google search. So he went on a trip to Egypt to meet with these people. He came back, and the first thing he does when he lands is he Googles, throw this up there, Matt, how much is 1 kilo of gold worth?
That's so funny.
Jesus fucking Christ. This isn't the
How
first
bad
time.
Is bribery?
Yeah.
Has any senator been caught for bribery? What are the sentencing requirements for bribery? Yeah,
but this scam has sub scams because they gave her the no-show job working at basically a half-existent halal meat exporting company. Nadine was pissed off she wasn't making enough money at her fake job, so she complained. She complained to Bob, who complained to Egypt. So the Egyptian government gave her an exclusive contract to export halal meat to Egypt. The USDA was like, wait, you can't have a monopoly in America. We have laws against that. So he tried to stop it from going through, and Bob called and yelled at them. They're like, fuck you. We're not paying attention to this. They still stopped the monopoly from going forward. So she was still pissed they weren't paying her enough. So they just bought her a Mercedes. That's the feds found in their garage. But she was texting him about all this business, and he had to tell her, stop texting me about our crimes. And she immediately called him.
That's funny. Is this one of those things where, like, was the halal meat getting to Egypt? Meaning, like, was there also some company who just does that all the time, who was like a subcontractor? You know what I mean? Where they were like, hey, she's going to take this cut and you guys do your business and we're going to guarantee you the contract. Or was like just none of this even happening? You know what I mean? It's just like an on paper thing.
Yeah, I didn't see any of those details in there about like whether or not any meat was actually moving. I'm assuming some meat must have been moving. Otherwise, why you needed a monopoly? If you're just sending money, you can just send money,
right,
and send receipts saying you bought meat. But like, if you guys, halal, I should mention, if you guys, don't live under aren't into Sharia law. Halal is basically it's just it's like a Muslim version of kosher. My understanding is it just means the meat was butchered as painlessly as possible, so the animal didn't suffer.
Sure. And
Sharia law is cool, guys. No one talks about that. All right, go ahead.
Well, I'm not, not down with any kind of religious fundamentalism at all. Right. But like in New York, they have these carts they call them halal trucks, right? That's because all the meat on them is. So it has nothing to do with like the spices or the prep. Well, it's just got to be prepared right, like Mark said. But based on those, I will say it is flames. Whatever they're doing with, I don't know if it's the halal part that makes it good. I assume it's not. It's all the other parts they do. But I am a pretty big fan of those halal trucks.
Maybe chicken and goat and lamb taste better if they're not scared when they kill it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Like I used to, when I lived in Queens, in New York, I lived next to a halal butcher shop, and I just see them unloading the chickens every morning. It's pretty cool. Not for the chickens, of course. So his defense, if you're wondering what it is, one, he tried to play the race card. The first thing he said was, "It's not lost to me how quickly some are rushing to judge a Latino and push him out of his seat." But he's been in Congress since the 90s. He was elected to the Senate in 2006. He's one of the more powerful people in the Senate. You represent New Jersey. Nobody's coming for you because you're Latino.
No.
But this video clip, I want you to watch this because this is really galaxy brain defense for reasons I'll explain even more thoroughly in a second.
Third, for 30 years, I have withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash from my personal savings account, which I have kept for emergencies and because of the history of my family facing confiscation in Cuba. Now, this may seem old-fashioned, but these were monies drawn from my personal savings account based on the income that I have lawfully derived over those 30 years.
All right. He said, I'm just a poor immigrant who doesn't trust banks because of my cultural background. Right. And how dare you guys judge me for having $500,000 hidden in jacket pockets in my closet? All right.
Right. Yeah, it's like rednecks burying their money in the yard or hiding them in couch cushions or something like that.
Right.
Because they don't trust the banks or whatever.
He's on the Senate Banking Committee. So,
well, who better to be on the banking committee than somebody that doesn't trust banks enough to, bury their money, Mark?
I would agree. But if you know some shit's about to go down with the banks, Bob, you got to fucking tell us.
Well, that is true. I guess, that's your whole job on there is to keep them from doing the shit you're saying you're worried about them doing,
Right. So add to this, like, he's not the first Cuban American politician to do this in our red bait fucking political environment. He was born in New York City in 1954, 5 years before the Cuban Revolution. All right. His parents fled the Batista regime. And the idea that they pretending that communists or anybody confiscated all their property and that's why they're scared they'll have to flee and take money with them is ridiculous because his family was blue collar. Like they didn't have anything for Batista to confiscate. But anyway, like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio do this shit too. Both their families fled the Batista regime, but they'll do this rhetorical sleight of hand where they'll go like, my parents were Cuban immigrants, period. I know the horrors of socialism, period. Those are two separate thoughts, but they act like the two things are connected. And you fled a right-wing kleptocracy. That's what you fled. Castro might also be bad for different reasons, but don't pretend that your personal backstory is fighting communism because it's fucking not.
Right.
By the way, his defense of having the $480,000 in cash in jackets, he doesn't mention the gold bars or how he got them or why the gold bars he got. He said in text that he got from Egypt, he was selling to another Egyptian guy who was apparently in on the scam and knew to give him cash. It was a way for them to smuggle a bunch of cash in a suitcase without having it being cash. All right.
Right.
But the whole I'm just Cuban thing reminded me. Remember when Andrew Cuomo was accused of sexual harassment?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
goes, "Oh, I'm
It's
just
like,
very Italian."
yeah, I'm Italian. That's just what we do, Like, get a
Yeah.
little handsy, Yeah, spaghetti people. That's how we are. We're touchy-feely, a little sexual assaulty. It's part of our
Yeah.
culture.
And if you wonder who the victims of this are, okay, one of the things he helped, besides, the Egyptian government being a horrible dictatorship oppresses its own people, is helped getting them more weapons, which have more power to do that. I didn't realize this. Egyptian intelligence was apparently involved in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, the guy who
Yeah,
Saudi
right.
Arabia, they cut his head
Yeah,
off in
the
Turkey.
journalist. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that
Uh,
Egypt had anything to do with that, no.
Me neither. And one of the reasons we might not know about that is Bob Menendez tried to keep it quiet.
Ooh,
I guess
damn.
the Saudis stopped over in Egypt to pick up some drugs they used to, I don't know, drug Khashoggi before they cut his head off. And he gave, he had the intel on this and knew it was going to go public in the media and the news, and gave Egypt a head up. It'd be quote here: the senator's wife gave a heads up to an Egyptian official, quote, so you can prepare your rebuttals. Menendez, because of his position as the head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, also had like a de facto veto on a policy towards Cuba. And he basically, like, one former Democratic congressman was like, basically every time we passed a bill to loosen sanctions on Cuba, it would be dead on arrival in the Senate, and we could never really tell why. Now, maybe Menendez has a principled objection to the Cuban government through all its iterations and policies over the last 50 years, even after the USSR fell, Castro died, all that shit. But the thing about being for sale is no one knows when you're actually exercising your principles.
Right. Yeah.
Cuban people have suffered.
Well, that's the thing about integrity.
Because this asshole. Yes.
That's the thing about integrity. It's like you got to maintain it, or then you don't have. It's like your virginity. Really, you lose it and it's gone. You can't get it back. Like you said, so like once your integrity is questioned, every move you've ever made retroactively becomes spurious in nature. Because of that.
Which is why he's got to go, right? He's got to fucking go.
Right.
It's like we quote the brilliant Tyler Childers lyric: "It takes twice as long to build bridges you burn." Right. But like, there's a weird pushback here. Isn't coming from Senate Democrats who like dithered and took too long to do anything about this, but are calling on him to resign. There's a conspiracy. Let's talk about the dinguses before the Senate Republicans, even though the Senate has some dinguses. Charlie Kirk said the DOJ indicted Senator Menendez to create the appearance of impartiality so they could continue their jihad against Donald Trump. Molly Hemingway, who's a conservative opinion writer, who's an absolute crackpot, quote tweeted this. Some guy said Menendez is always corrupt, but only seems to get indicted when a Democratic administration is capitulating to Iran. She said, yes, interesting pattern to this. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, attorneys general under the last two Democratic presidents have tried to put Menendez in jail. And your theory is it's because he's too close to taking out the deep state. This guy's getting gold bars from Egyptian intelligence. All right.
Right. Well, it's like the whole, like, that and the they just wanted to appear fair because of their whole deal with Trump or whatever. And it's like all of that is just like, right. Or maybe it's because he did that shit and he did it in a very public and stupid way, and thus something had to be done about it. It's like it never enters their brain that like something might have just actually happened, like with Trump or with this, where there's always got to be some ulterior motive or explanation for it, or some kind of weaponized politics or whatnot. And it's like maybe he's just been getting bribed out loud for a while and something had to be done about it.
Maybe consider the possibility the Department of Justice thinks it's bad for a sitting U.S. senator to help Saudi Arabia and Egypt to get away with cutting the head off of an American resident,
right?
Who writes for the Washington Post.
No, that can't be it.
Is that
something? No, that can't be it. Hunter Biden's involved with this somehow.
Yeah,
we'll uncover it any day now.
So, to their credit, Democrats finally, he was indicted on Friday, or became public on Friday. He's, by the way, turning himself in tomorrow to be arraigned. A majority, I think, of Senate Democrats, plus Bernie, who caucuses with them, is technically an independent, have called for him to resign. but it took too long. Like the only one that went quick was Fetterman. Of course he did. He doesn't give a shit about wearing cargo shorts. He doesn't care about he's not friends with this guy like the rest of you. He hasn't patted their back at a fundraiser. So he's the first one to call off and resign. He also put out a statement because Menendez had given money to his 2022 campaign. He said, quote, "We're in the process of returning the money in envelopes stuffed with $100 bills."
Yeah. He's cheeky. He's cheeky, that Fetterman, and I appreciate it.
When Menendez said he kept $480,000 in cash for personal emergencies, for household emergencies, Fetterman posted, "We keep flashlights with batteries."
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. That's a slam dunk.
To his credit, Sherrod Brown went second, and the gates opened this morning. But then Chuck Schumer has been defended Menendez, said that he's a dedicated public servant. Buddy, read the indictment. He's not a dedicated public servant. He's fucking all about he's cash rules everything around this motherfucker. He might be quietly trying to push him out, but he hasn't done anything publicly. And Saturday, a third-term rep by the name of Andy Kim from New Jersey announced he's going to challenge Menendez in next year's primary. This guy seems cool, like a decent guy, really earnest, believes in public service. So he's probably got no chance in New Jersey. But still, I'm rooting for him. But he made the point, how can we ask Americans to vote against an indicted Trump, but for an indicted Democratic senator, especially with evidence this damning? And the thing is, Menendez won with like 53% of the vote. It's like 53 to 43. So it wasn't close, but also it's a bare majority. New Jersey should be a safe blue state, but Menendez isn't popular because he's been well-known fucking crooked douchebag for the entirety of his career. He was primary in 2018. Last time he was up for election by like a county clerk who had no money and got 38%. People in New Jersey are sick of this fuck. Push him out. But the thing is,
it's one of those things where it's like they're just the establishment's not propping anybody up to go against him. In fact, the opposite is true. But like a Democrat in New Jersey is going to win the general every time. But in the primary, the people are basically screaming like, "Please, someone other than this motherfucker."
Yes.
That hasn't materialized yet.
I think you need 2/3 of the Senate to vote to expel a senator, and like they got more than half of Democrats. You'd think, well, you get every Republican, but no, they're taking Menendez's side. Tom Cotton posted this today. Senator Menendez has a right to test the government's evidence in court, just like any other citizen. He should be judged by jurors and New Jersey's voters, not by Democratic politicians who now view him as an inconvenient to their hold on power. Rubio said something similar. Kevin McCarthy over in the House called for Menendez to resign over the weekend, but then backtracked today. I guess they had a meeting and decided it's good to have him around, maybe to have him to hold him up as a comparison to Trump.
I mean, I could see that, like, politically, the idea that, like, it would be better for us, the Republicans, if this dude stuck around and wasn't, brought to account because of his crimes, because we could point out, as long as he's around, we could point at him and be like, yeah, what about that guy? Even though, like, they are the ones who helped keep him there in the first place. It doesn't matter. You still point to him and be like, what about your boy here? He's still sitting there. He still got his job. What about him?
Yeah. So the real question is, like, because 2018 was the time to push him out because it was the first election after he'd almost been convicted by a federal jury under federal charges. And the party stood behind him. Cory Booker endorsed him. Hillary Clinton went to a fundraiser, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't like that. I don't care for that because it's like because it drives me. I've harped a lot over the years about how I wish like Democrats stuck together more, and but I've always been like with shit like with Al Franken or something, or you know what I mean, or some like sort of like culture war controversy or something, and we'll fucking turn on each other in a heartbeat, which has always driven me crazy. And and I was like, say what you will about the right, them motherfuckers stick together. Like it don't matter if you fucking was a fucking rapist pedophile judge, they'll go to bat for you or whatever.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And I'm not saying we should defend that. I'm not saying that, but we could have a little more solidarity on the left instead of picking each other apart all the time. But this is not what I meant. Like when there's actual, crimes involved, then it should be the opposite, because we do, like you said, that's the thing about integrity. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's breaking the law, they should be held to account just the same as anybody else,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to relitigate Franken because we're running out of time, but like the thing is, like Republicans have it easier when it comes to this shit because people having no faith in government is good for them.
Right.
So having a government be full of a bunch of corrupt assholes they can point to, be like, see, government, we should fucking destroy every federal program and cut everybody's taxes and just everybody get a gun and you're on your own, right? So that's like, so I don't like. Franken got replaced with a senator who's fine. It's fine. I want people to go to the doctor. I don't care about Al Franken's resume. He's doing a podcast. He's having a good time. So in 2000, like, think about when I talk about Menendez being crooked for a long fucking time. All right, forget the 2015 charges where he was basically charged for also for bribery. There, he was doing favors for a Florida eye doctor for some reason who gave him a bunch of expensive gifts and free travel. He basically tried to help this guy. This guy's name was Dr. Melgen, and he helped this guy's business interests out by intervening with a government agency over a Medicare billing dispute. He also helped him get a contract in the Dominican Republic. He also helped foreign nationals get visas to visit Dr. Melgen in the U.S. He was also been accused of corruption since at least 2006 in the State House, where he apparently funneled some federal money to a nonprofit and siphoned some off. In 2012, he was accused of hiring underage prostitutes in the Dominican Republic. That was likely horseshit ginned up by the Daily Caller, because the girls later said the Daily Caller paid them to say he had sex with them. So that let's forget that one for a second. Politics is fucking scummy. So after Bob beat the charges in 2015 with a hung jury, he called Trump. It wasn't really him, but Trump. It was Stuttering John from the Howard Stern show called Trump and got put through from the White House to Air Force One because Trump was so excited to talk to Bob Menendez just because they love being corrupt together. Here, listen to this fucking call.
Hi, Bob. Hey, how are you? How are you? Congratulations on everything. We're proud of you. Congratulations. Great job. You went through a tough situation, and I don't think a very fair situation.
That there was actually a prank call.
All right,
comedian John Melendez.
Bro, what? Like, what else? What is he like about this guy other than it wasn't even the guy? It was a comedian pretending to be the guy. But what is he even like about this guy ostensibly outside of just his overt corruption?
That's it.
You're doing great things in the corruption game, Bob. You're really showing them out there, man. You're fucking breaking all the laws and sticking around, buddy. That's what we like to see.
So speaking of how much he likes Bob, Trump likes Bob. After Melgen was convicted of Medicare fraud later in 2017, Trump commuted his 17-year sentence. Just some more Menendez corruption shit. Menendez received at least 2 donations from the People's Mujahideen of Iran before September 2012, back when it was listed as a foreign terrorist organization. When you're getting campaign donations that have the check has both Mujahideen and Iran in it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not a good look, Mark. Not a good look.
I saw this. According to the Senate Historical Office, Menendez is the first sitting senator to be indicted in 2 unrelated criminal matters. He's, statistically speaking, the most corrupt U.S. senator of all time. And because the reason being, usually the first time you're indicted on serious charges,
right, you don't
fucking
come back.
Resign.
Yeah, right. You don't come back
because it's embarrassing to the party. You don't get reelected.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we talked about that. Like that used to be the case. It's like there used to be. I mean, they were all corrupt behind the scenes and doing a bunch of bullshit, and everybody. We all know that. I'm not saying they weren't, but like. If you got caught with something for the longest time in American politics, like you were fucking done, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's just how it was. I mean, it would bring up Howard Dean all the time. He just said some weird shit on the campaign trail and got fucked out of it, you know, like, but that used to be sort of the standard, but I feel like Trump and the MAGA thing and all, and I know this guy's a Democrat, but like, that's just not a thing in American politics anymore. Like you can, get caught doing the shit we all expect you or all suspect you might be doing behind the scenes. You can get caught with it and charged with it and still just keep your job and keep your power and everything. Evidently.
My real fear here, I guess we got to triage him in some order, but he causes Democrats to lose New Jersey if he can manage to hang on to a primary. He switches parties so he isn't expelled from the Senate and fucks up the next 2 years of government.
Mm-hmm.
It hands, Senate Majority Leader back to Mitch McConnell. He just drags the whole party down in this muck for months. I just like, it's just so fucking weird and gross, man. It's just like, just go away, dude. Why do these people why do they let him stay in power so long? He's so entrenched they can't really get rid of him. Why
Right.
is there no such thing as shame anymore?
Yeah.
And why did no one see this coming? Not just since, he took the Mujahideen money. He was accused of the underage girl thing. True, not true, but whatever. The fact that people thought it was credible is fucking weird, because he does a bunch of other crooked shit. The fact he almost got convicted by a federal grand jury before of bribery, and they kept helping him get reelected. And now he's tied around their neck.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just let the guy go. You're not sending him to a gulag. You're sending him back to New Jersey. Are you saying that's worse than a gulag?
Well, no, Jersey's great. Love Bruce Springsteen. Yeah. Matt, put some I know I told y'all we were in a little early, but fuck it. What's 4 minutes going to matter? Matt, put up some questions and comments if you got them. I got a party to go to, y'all.
A fancy party.
A fancy party. It'll be the biggest piece of trash there. But
if adrenocine's real, Trey will know in 2 hours.
I'll find out. Yeah. Well, that clean slate of me. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, you're talking. Oh, like you kind of can't help but wonder in situations like that. Sometimes it's like, he knows where the bodies are buried type thing. You know what I mean? Like he knows too much or something, like for them to go after him publicly. Poo picker upper says, Trey, I saw your show in Toledo, brought my sister-in-law. It was great. Thank you very much. I know you maintain a very high standard for entertainment, poo picker upper.
I love that we have a show where basically we just get together and all worry about the state of American democracy for an hour every week. And we have viewers who call themselves poo picker upper.
Yeah.
State of the Union is strong.
10 on YouTube said Nixon, LOL. I don't know what that was in response to when I was saying people used to be held accountable for shit. Because, I mean, he was ultimately. Michael Leby says, that's why your hair is combed. Yeah, motherfucker. I don't ever comb my hair. All I do is just run my hair. Shut up, Michael. I've been self-conscious about my hair lately. Mark, I know you don't want to hear it as a bald, but my hair's not been cooperating with me as of late, and it's been pissing me off. I had tremendous hair for a long time. I guess it's starting to thin out. I'm pushing 40. I don't know, but it's not been doing me right lately. Thank you for noticing, Michael. The Roan says, hit the like button. Thank you. Yes, I always forget. Smash that like button, YouTubers. Subscribe. Tell your friends, your mom and them. Leave us a 5-star review on your podcast apps, all that stuff. Connie Stating says, fancy. All right, Matt. I see what you're doing. See what you and the fans are doing. Listen.
He's got a button-down shirt on. I wanted to shout out this story because it made me laugh. Marjorie Taylor Greene got a little bit of she basically just got roasted online over the weekend. She posted like people basically saying Jewish people happy Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur was yesterday. And she used a photo of a menorah, which is a totally different holiday. That's Hanukkah. And it's also just like, I personally have fallen in this trap before because I don't really know what all the Jewish holidays are about.
Sure,
I basically only know what Jewish holiday is happening when there's no traffic going down to Hollywood.
Right. Yeah.
But like, so I've wished people a happy Yom Kippur before. So I had to text my friend Elizabeth, who watches the show sometimes. Say, hi, if you're watching, Elizabeth, who's Jewish, and be like, so I know the Yom Kippur is a day of atonement. So what do you actually say to people? I know there's a Yiddish thing to say that, or a Hebrew thing to say that I don't understand and probably wouldn't pronounce correctly. But like, it's a day of introspection. So you can just like have a nice day of introspection. So yeah, okay.
So that's what you say.
Anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't have a Jewish friend to text. Is what my point is. Like,
right. Yeah. Well, no, of course not. They got all the space lasers, man.
Yeah.
You got to be hanging out with them. Anna LA says Yom Kippur isn't happy. Yeah,
I know that now.
Yeah, Mark figured it out. But see, I would never tweet something like that because I would be self-conscious about, everybody's letting you. It's funny. I feel like you guys wrote these comments before Mark finished his anecdote. Just says, don't say happy Yom Kippur, easy fast, Virginia Hall says. So there you go. Say easy fast. I would be so self-conscious about what I don't know about the Jewish faith that it would prevent me from like tweeting something like that in the first place. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's a synagogue around the corner.
You have an easy fast.
Yeah. Now I know what to say. So there's a synagogue around the corner from my apartment that I walk by walking my dog every day, and they had armed security yesterday. So that's the main thing I know about it. Is it's very scary to be a Jewish in America right now.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's not entirely new for them, but it does seem to be getting worse lately. Thanks, Kanye. No, listen, much love to all our Jewish
Canadian statues. And
thank you guys for watching and listening. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my tickets for my tour dates, and get the book Around Here and Over Yonder. subscribe on Patreon. Get on there, patreon.com, and look me up, weeklyskews.com/more, $5 a month, full-length bonus episodes, a lot of fun shit, support the show. And but the main thing is you keep coming back every Skews D, and we will too. We'll see you in